Alright, if they're watching part 2, you're probably ready to see us disassemble and reassemble this frame. So let's get to it. I'm going to be using a bench block a little bit today, but by all means feel free to use a roll of duct tape or whatever your heart desires. However, I just got the bench block not that long ago and I really enjoy using it. It's a little bit easier to use by design than some of these other tools you can use, such as duct tape. First thing I always do is remove springs from the left side out. Left out, right in. You want to fit right in, and you don't want to be left out. Alright, that's how I remember it. I'm going to show you mostly, the main reason on this is for this, to always do it the same way is for a groove, but it's pretty ambidextrous. But this spring right here on the slide release, or slide lock, I like to go left out, because then the dimple only crosses at once as opposed to 1-2 times if you go the other way. I'll show you more of that when we get to there. Alright, now each time, the more you use your pistol, the more you break it down fully, the easier it will be to disassemble it later. I like to start with it by removing tension from the top pin first. So I'm going to grab my punch here. Again, left out, so left side out. A little bit of pressure gets it started. Pull that pin the rest of the way out. And let me show you. There's a little dimple. You can kind of feel it on each side. Kind of a light ridge. And you can tell by the wear here, there's a little line here. That's where, over here is where that spring will ride. That's why it's worn it down a little bit more on this side. I also like to put it in the same way so the wear is consistent. Not that big a deal. But if I went through the other way, then both this lip and the whole run of the pin would go against that spring. This way, once it moves this far, it doesn't hit the spring again. Again, not a big deal. If you do it the other way, I don't think you'll have irreparable harm. It's just a little bit more wear and tear than maybe needed. I'm going to take another punch. I'm going to push it right here. Get it started. Sometimes I find wiggling the slide lock will help relieve a little tension there. Also, since I have this block, I'm going to go ahead and use it too. So do a little wiggle. There we go. Didn't even need to use a hammer, but I always like to have it there in case. Once you get it started, pulls right out. You can see here there are 2 grooves in this pin. That's important because that's how the pieces kind of work in there. You'll hear a satisfactory click when you push it in and you know it's in the right place. You'll see that in a second. Well, the only other pin they'll need to remove is right here on the frame. It just releases the frame. Again, this really doesn't matter left or right, but I like to be consistent because then I don't have to think about, hey, am I doing this the same way? That pin just falls right out. There we go. Now your trigger assembly can pull right out. Oh, I should pull this metal block up. Again, not using a brass punch. It looks like brass, but this one's actually chrome. If I did, we can use the thick part of the brass, I suppose, if it was brass. You still want to use the tip because you can bend the tip of your punch, and brass punches are meant to be soft. Alright, this part I like to shine up. It's kind of dirty right now, but I like to get a nice shine when I break it down. Now we can pull out the whole trigger assembly. Oops. I forgot the slide lock. That just comes out if you don't take it out earlier. This is fully disassembled, save for the plug, which doesn't come standard, but I put in. To remove it, you just compress here and it pops out. It is polymer and plastic. I don't like to pop it out unnecessarily. There's no reason to take that out. The magazine release, there's a spring, which I can show you right in there. You see it moving there? Just right here. You just compress that spring, hook it over, and then you can release it. This is a Gen 3, so it's just the safety or the slide release, magazine release on the left side, and you could flip it on the Gen 4s. But that's easy enough. Here for the, so let's use the release. If you compress this spring right here, you can slide that out and put a bigger one in there. I don't know why you'd want it more. I guess if you had dexterity issues, it'd be nice to have it a little longer. I don't have any problem with it. So those 2 things, honestly, I'm not taking out, and you could. You could take out the magazine release, but that's, again, unless you're changing this part or changing this part, there's really absolutely no need to do that. Alright, so to reassemble, I'll do that after I break down this. Now I'm not going to fully break it down. There's a pin here. You never need to break that down. There's no reason for it. You can move it around to clean the bar right in there. You don't need to take that off, even if you're doing a polish on here. What you do need to do sometimes is get to this transfer bar, or the trigger pull weight bar. To do that, you just gotta kind of work it. You gotta go over and out. And I leave it hooked up. You could take, this is the bar you'd want to, oh, I guess I will fully disassemble that. Take a little screwdriver right there, you can push that piece out, put in your 3.5 pound connector, you can put in your New York connector. This is the standard connector at 5.5 pounds. I put in a 3.5. It made me shoot a little bit better when I first was starting, but eventually I moved back to the 5.5 pound trigger connector, and all the springs even, because I think from the factory, personally, I shoot that better stock than manipulating with those. And here's your little spring here that you'd hook right onto that hole in the rear. So we're going to do that. Some people, there's videos about how to polish this up if you want to do that. Alright. Once you flip the spring out, you hook that little hole through the spring like so. And then you've got to, I like to go down and in because you've got to go through this little space in the rear. And it's kind of a finesse wiggly thing. There we go. And then it snaps underneath. So it's got to be underneath the connector. So that works. Alright, now to put this back in the frame is pretty easy. Stick your trigger where the trigger goes. The rear of the trigger assembly has its little housing. And again, when you get it in right, you hear that little click. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put the rear pin in right away. Left out, right in. This one in particular makes no never mind, but consistency helps keep things consistent. And you can push that mainly in with your hand if you want. I'm kind of a stickler. I like it to be balanced. Oh, well, there you go. Left and right, but it's not that big a deal. Alright, now, putting this in, there's an order to this. Order to the madness. You've got the big pin, this looks like this, will ride right through there. Alright, that's easy enough. It'll ride right inside. And the little pin that has the wear I told you about will ride right like this. So if you put the big pin in first, then you'll have to manipulate the spring and you could hit the spring and hurt it. So you want to put the little spring in first, which was the first one I actually took out. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and put that in. It's going to run with the block, so I put the block in there. That's easy enough. It slides right into its house. Going right in. I like to put the same wear side on the same side, but you don't have to. You can flip it if you like. Push that in, and then if you can hear it, let's see if you can hear it. There you go. A little click shows it's about equal. I went a little far. There you go. It's in its groove. Now, when I put the slide lock in there, fits right in its little groove, right on the lip here, right in that side. The spring, or not spring, the spring sits underneath the pin. So now I just gotta look through here, make sure I can see daylight, because right now it's blocking, and I push it. There we go. I see my little light going through. Sometimes I cheat because it wants to, and wiggle it around like so first. And I'm putting my thumb back here so to try to keep it from moving. I'm just creating a better source of daylight for the pin to go through. Going right side in, so I'm going to go from the bottom here. Get that started, and here's a trick. As you're pushing it in, you don't want to beat it through, so just give this slide lock a little wiggle back and forth. And there, I was just wiggling it, and it found its little happy place, so it pushes in. And I was talking over it, so you probably didn't hear the second snap, but boom, I just pushed that pin in. Again, let's do a little check on a couple things. Slide release should have some tension to it. Hold the bar, you can move it forward, and then the trigger's forward. Put some tension on it, and then you can pull it back. Alright, that's working nicely. Have it in the rearward position. If you're joining us from part 1, you've seen the slide disassembled and reassembled. If you're joining from part 2, you've seen the frame disassembled and reassembled. now we're going to fully reassemble the pistol. Now, truth be told, for the slide you really do need to have your barrel and your spring inserted in, but that's part of a general field strip. Alright, so you've got your slide. Alright, so you've got your slide, your barrel, your spring right there together. What you're going to do, and if you ever put the slide back on the frame without putting the spring and the barrel back in there because you're in a hurry, I have a video that I'll annotate over here about how to fix that problem. It might not be up right away when you see this video. I've got to make that one still. It's in the editing phase. So you slide the slide on the rails, pull it back. I like to lock it to the rear. Alright, locks to the rear. Let it go forward. So that works. Safe direction. Keeping the trigger compressed if it has its reset. Yep. So that is a completely disassembled, reassembled slide, disassembled, reassembled frame, a complete G17, Glock 17, disassemble, reassemble in 1-2 parts. Thanks for watching.